On this episode of Brainpower, let's go ahead and vibe program an interactive video player. All right, let's get after it. Hello, friends. It's Josh. Well, we are going to do this episode without a net. And what I mean by that is I'm going to be vibe programming and prompting and hopefully getting some outputs that actually function. If you don't know what vibe programming it is, it's essentially putting a prompt into ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude to produce some type of code. And in this case, what we're attempting to do is create an interactive video player that's going to support a single scenario based video. Now, this is part two of essentially, this two-part series where in episode 33, if you didn't catch that, make sure that you head on over to hold on one second. Here we go. Yes, head on over to Brainpower on my website, and if I can get my act together here, so sorry. There it is. Go to my website /brainpower. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll be able to download the prompt file. So if you're watching the live, I currently do not have episode 34 up there just yet. You can go ahead and download the file from episode 33. It has both prompts in there from this two-part series. So again, if you're catching it live, just download that one. After the broadcast, I will go ahead and put episode 34 up there, which is essentially the same copy. So, okay, you have that. Fantastic. So, what does that first prompt create? Let's revisit that real quick before I get into the vibe programming part. Now, I do happen to have the videos created from the entire workflow from the first prompt, and I will explain all of that now. So, with this, let's go ahead and I'm going to open up ChatGPT and let me bring up the prompt file so you can see that. It's going to be a Word document. It's a big one. I'm not going to pull any punches here. This is a structured prompt. Scenario prompt going for Midjourney. Sorry. It's a structured prompt that's going to create a scenario with all of the additional prompts for Midjourney and the camera action and voiceover scripts for Google VO3. That's where the video is created. Now, if you want to see the entire workflow, go back over to episode 33. You can catch that one, walk through it, and then you'll understand how the videos are created. But just for illustration, let me just quickly run this prompt. You can then see the progression of the output and the workflow, and then I will demonstrate the videos that were outputted from this process. Okay, so let's just run this prompt real quick. Again, this is just to give you context and catch everybody up on this process, this part of the process right here. All right, so let me copy that. We're going to go over to ChatGPT. I'm just doing this straight 4.0 model, nothing special here. Let me go and run it. And it's going to knock this out fairly quick. Where did my favorite feature go? We get some background on the scenario. I get a list of the characters, the scenario objective. I get scene one, and there is my Midjourney prompt right here. So that is an input into Midjourney that will then generate a static image. That image then goes into Google VO3. with the following instructions: the camera action or on-screen action, and then the audio script for our talent, so to speak. All right. Okay, so you got that. What do the outputs look like from VO3? Well, I have an example here. So for instance, in this first part, it says, look, I used quick export every day. Now it's just gone. This is ridiculous. Something similar is, or I created here. So let's take a look at video 1. And this is the output from VO3 from this process.
Every morning I use that quick export button, and now it's just gone. This update has totally messed up my workflow.
Yeah, you get the idea. And then you would continue the process. And then this is the customer service rep.
I completely understand how that feels, Jordan. A change like this can be really disruptive when you rely on it daily.
Okay, so that's that one. And then the final would look something like this.
Every morning I use that quick export button, and now it's just gone. This update has totally messed up my workflow.
I completely understand how that feels, Jordan. A change like this can be really disruptive when you rely on it daily.
They said it would be easier, but now I'm clicking through menus just to do what I did in one click before.
You get the idea, right? So the name of that video is called final.mp4, and that's going to be our referenced video in the vibe coded out interactive video code. Okay, so we have that all set. Let's go back and take a look at the prompt. Again, if you are just joining live, you can download these prompts right here. Okay, so if you want to capture that URL and grab it, we can do this live together. So here we go, Vibe Programming Prompt. Let me first get into the prompt itself before I run it. A little secret sauce here. So when I'm creating these types of prompts, I'm typically going in and actually using a large language model to expand or be used as a thought partner to build out the prompt. That way, it allows me to kind of take the blinders off and incorporate words into the prompt that I may not have done before as a zero-shot prompt. So one of the tools that I use, and I wasn't expecting to show this, so bear with me 1 second while I bring it up. Again, it may take a moment. Here we go. One of the tools that I use to expand my prompts is called Workbench, and it can be found at console.anthropic.com. So, the AI lab that makes Claude, they have this tool that allows you to go in and create a prompt. So it's really kind of meta. You're using a large language model to blow out or to create a very expansive prompt. Okay. That is one method to do it. Again, that's at console.anthropic.claude. Obviously, you'll have to sign up for an account to get access to it. That's one of the tools that I use. I do happen to have a prompt that I will share with you in the files. I don't have it today, available today. I do have it. I'll share it with you. So the episode 34 downloads, I will share with you my meta prompt to create this Tracy format. And if you're not familiar with Tracy, it's task, role, audience, create, and intent. It's one of those frameworks that is kind of like a universal framework for me. There are other prompt frameworks depending upon the task that you're trying to accomplish, like for marketing or data analysis. But for a general kind of like instructional design output, this really works well for me. And I'm just going to go ahead and give you the highlights. in this prompt. Again, what we're attempting to do is have Google Gemini create for us a single file that will play this video, but not only that, make it interactive. So let's take a look at the prompt. Get in here and zoom in. So sorry. There we go. All right, here's our prompt. Create a responsive HTML, JavaScript, CSS interface that overlays interactive questions on top of a single MP4 video containing 5 scenario-based scenes. The questions appear at defined timestamps, default break at 8 seconds, but adjustable, and pause the video for each user interaction. Man, words are important. So here we have a single self-contained HTML file with JavaScript and CSS. Now, if there's other JavaScript functionality that you want, like 3D animation, you would then reference that JavaScript framework. Then we get into the functionality here. Now, the 8 seconds, where the heck did that come from? Well, you got to know your workflows and the tools that you're and platforms that you're using. It just so happens that Google VO3 is limited to 8-second clips. That's it. I don't get any more. Now it could be shorter than 8 seconds, but to keep things, simple to illustrate this concept, I'm just doing 8-second clips back and forth between the Jordan and our customer service rep in the video. Now, of course, there's going to be some slight adjustments, and we'll get to that in just a bit. The role. You're a senior front-end developer experienced in multimedia interactivity, JavaScript, video APIs, and responsive design. Definitely, we got some role stacking here. And these words of multimedia interactivity, JavaScript, video APIs, and responsive design for educational content delivery, high power words. These words alone are going to force the model to focus and give me outputs for this type of functionality. The audience, corporate learners consuming scenario-based video training content. They interact with embedded questions between scene transitions to reinforce decision-making and assess understanding. Who are we targeting? Create. Generate clean, modular HTML, JavaScript, CSS code that does the following. I'm not going to get into the details. You can go ahead and read it for yourself to get an idea of the specifics that need to be in the code. It is important because this is the way that the code is going to be created based upon the functions that have been identified. You want to take some time and think about the interaction that you're building, because what you describe right here in the prompt, it's essential. If you allow Gemini, ChatGPT, or Claude to do the programming for you, it may come up with a solution, but you may have to tweak it and go back and forth. We're just laying it out. This is the functionality. It's in the prompt. Do it. As opposed to a zero shot with our breakpoints that bring up the questions via JavaScript, I'm giving it a one-shot example in here. If you're not familiar with that terminology, zero shot is when there's no examples to the model. You allow the model to create the solution for you. A one-shot example is when you put in the prompt an example of a structure or format that then is replicated by the model. And then a multi-shot prompt is when you have multiple examples in there. Like, for instance, like a multiple choice question. You can go in and give a one-shot example of a multiple choice question that only has 2 distractors and 1 correct answer, right? And if you give it 3 examples, it reinforces that formatting rule to the model, and you get better results back. Like, it doesn't go off the rails and hallucinate as much. In this case, I have a specific JavaScript structure for the timing of when the interactive questions go up and the question itself and the options as far as, like, which one is correct. Now, these are fairly generic. And, we'll go ahead and just see if it works out of the gate first, okay? All right. The output requirements, again, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, the intent to create a reusable training experience that mix passive watching with active participation. Again, the intent is really, you know, uh, either the business goal or in this case, from a learning experience standpoint, what we want to have happen. All right. So that is an overview of the prompt. I hope that helps you out and gives you inspiration for building your own vibe programming prompts. Let's go ahead and grab that entire prompt. I'll copy it and we'll take it back over. Now, today I'm going to be using Gemini. I've had a lot of good results with using Gemini 2.5 Pro. So I'm going to stick with that. Now, of course, you can attempt to do this in Chat GPT, like a reasoning model like O3 or O3 Pro if you have access. You can also go over to Claude and give it a go with one of the 4 models offhand. And what's great about what the labs are doing, there's so many different models that it gives you guidance as far as like which model to use. So it doesn't really give you specifics as far as programming, but it looks like I would go ahead and like give Opus 4 a shot here first as far as programming. Okay. All right. So I'm back over in Gemini and I'm just going to paste my prompt in here that I just reviewed. I'm going to make sure that Canvas is turned on. Notice that when I hover over Canvas here in Gemini, create docs and apps. So, we're in a period of flux right now in the way that the AI labs are allowing this functionality to show up. Again, keep on top of it because you never know when there's going to be a new interface or a new way to create applications within these platforms. So as of this recording, right now, I'm just going to go ahead and click on Canvas. Make sure you do that here in Gemini. Let's go ahead and submit. And Faisal, if you're still watching, thanks for hanging out with me. Appreciate it. And away we go, friends. Okay, so Gemini is getting after it and is going to start kicking out the code. When I've run this in the past, typically the code is around 600 or 700 lines, and it can knock it out fairly quick. The one part of this code that I am interested in, there it is. Okay, so what just happened? You'll notice that up on the top, it is switched from code to preview. And it's rendering this self-enclosed HTML, JavaScript, CSS file. Not only that, but Gemini went ahead and went out to the internet and found a public video, and I have access to it. So we can actually run this and see if our quiz question pops up after 8 seconds. And there it is. Wow. It's working right out of the gate. That's pretty impressive. So let's go ahead and see if it actually works here. Now, it's funny is that the video has nothing to do with the question. But let me go ahead and ignore the client's mood. That's incorrect. Not quite. Try again. Oh, correct. Resume video. Correct answer. It kicked the video forward automatically. And now I get my next question. So the framework is working here. Perfect. All right. Well, now we need to go ahead and make a few tweaks. So let's go ahead and stop this. Let's go back to the code. The first step is you'll want to go in and get this code out of the environment. Now, I can continue vibe programming and ask Gemini to go in and make specific edits. All right. So if you are not comfortable with hand coding or getting in there and tweaking the file, you can go ahead and continue vibe programming here and having it make the edits. But here's the thing. Gemini doesn't have access to my desktop. That's where the videos are currently stored, like the videos I want to use. So typically what I prefer to do is go ahead and get this code, put it in a text file, save it out as HTML, and then make edits to it. Okay. That works for me. And again, it's it's a trade-off, because if I go ahead and I make the change here and have it reference final.mp4, well, it's not going to be able to play the video back. Like, I'll have to test it in the browser eventually. So in this case, what I'm going to do is show you the steps of getting the code out. And then got a quick question as far as, and this is from Fasal. Thank you again for hanging out. Do you think no model is near Claude for coding, especially in agent mode? I don't have enough experience with various types of programs or programming to give you an honest answer, Fasal. I do know that there are many code IDEs that leverage AI that utilize Claude, right? So I typically look to like where the marketplace is going as far as like MCP servers and what models are being used. So again, I think you gotta maintain your flexibility, because it's a leapfrog game. One day, Claude's sitting on top in regards to programming, and then, who knows? In the next couple weeks, ChatGPT or OpenAI can release ChatGPT 5, right? And we're talking a different story here. So you're asking me, am I a software engineer? Oh my God, hardly. I am not even close to a software engineer. Now over the years, I have taught programming classes, like ActionScript, like going way back in the day, and maybe a little JavaScript here or there. So I'm a little dangerous, but I would not consider myself a software engineer. I'm just good enough to understand like where a function is, where an asset or a call is at within JavaScript. So, it's just a little bit of, I'm a little dangerous. Okay. Well, with that, let's keep going here, my friends. I'm going to go ahead and grab this code and just copy it. And I'm going to open up a notepad real quick and just get that in there. I'm just going to paste all my code in there and then save it out in a specific folder. Now, this is important. The folder that I have here is my Brainpower folder. That's where my final video is sitting. So it's going to be all in the same directory just for testing purposes. And I have to make sure that this is an HTML document, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and call this video.html. Oops, it would be helpful if I had the right extension. There it is. And you can see my videos sitting in there. These 5 videos are the ones that I edited together, with final.mp4 being the reference video or what we're looking for. Okay, let me go ahead and save it out. That file is now saved as an HTML file. Let me close out of this. Actually, I shouldn't have done that. Let me stay in there. So let me go ahead and edit that. Now, at this point, I could use some type of, a different development environment to actually make these edits. Like, I do have a couple different development environments that are in here, like Cursor and Kiro. But just for simplicity, let me see if I can go back in and edit this just straight with my text editor. For some reason, let me see here. Oh, it's over here. So sorry. All right. Now I'm looking for 2 things. Where is the video sitting? So I can do a search for .mp4, and then I can change the code. And then I also want to go ahead and look for that JavaScript, that segment of JavaScript that's powering the questions. Okay. And Krishna, thank you so much for hanging in there with me. You got a question: to make edits or tweaks to the code, learning JavaScript helps with more situations, or is it Python? In this case, it's JavaScript. Now, is it helpful to know JavaScript and Python? You know it. Yes, it does. We're in this kind of transitional period where you still need to have some coding chops if you have to go in and make edits or changes, but that's changing fast. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you could just go into Gemini and Vibe program to make these changes, but it would require a little bit more in regards to going back and forth and testing it because these files are sitting local on my desktop. Okay, so with that, now I'm going to go ahead and find star.mp4. I've already done that. And there it is. And you can see here, as I zoom in on it, the bigbuckbunny.mp4 file that Gemini found out on the web. All right. I didn't do that. So if you saw the demo earlier, it went ahead and found this. Now, all I got to do is just change the source here to final.mp4. That's it. So when I run this, now my video is going to be in there, right? So let me go ahead and save it. And let me go ahead and grab that actual file and get it playing in a browser. Let's double click. There it is. Okay, so that works.
Every morning I use that quick export button, and now it's just gone. This update has totally messed up my workflow.
All right. And then we got that question coming up. Now it really comes down to identifying the timing. Like, when do we want the question to specifically pop up? So the idea is to go ahead and watch the whole video and make tweaks as when the question comes up, right? So in this case,
Completely understand how.
it's going to be at 7 seconds, right? And then I'll go in and I will modify when I want the questions to appear. So for instance, at 7 seconds, at 14 seconds. So it looks like the tails and the heads of the video have been edited slightly. Yeah, I went in and cleaned it up. And 21. All right, so we're at 7-second increments instead of 8.
Walk through.
All right, so we'll keep that up. We'll just refresh as we edit our code. Let me go back over to Notepad. And I'm now going to go ahead and find the JavaScript. Oh, it's right there. Man, I didn't have to go far. Here we have the configuration of the questions. Yeah, for my friends that don't program, it's okay. I totally get it. Essentially what I'm looking for here is that pattern that was created, the time. So instead of 8 seconds, pop the question up at 7 seconds, and then 14, and then 21. I'm not going to do them all here today. I'm just going to go in and make these quick changes. Here's the question. The client seems unhappy. What's the best initial approach for the manager? Here are my options. Now, just from a programming standpoint, this is a small little array right here. This group of options. I can change my options here if I wanted to. And then which one is the correct one? And then the triggered, that is going to go ahead and give feedback that, hey, you got this wrong. So I'm just going to leave that alone. So what you have to change is the time. What time, how many seconds in do you want the pop-up to appear? And it'd be interesting to see if I could put like a decimal in there, like 7.5 seconds, right? That'd be kind of interesting. I don't know. Let's see what it does here. 14.5. Let's try it. You would then change your question right here. You would change your answers where it says options. So here's option 1, option 2, option 3. Which one is the correct one? 1, 2, or 3? And then you want to keep the triggered false in there. That's what drives the false feedback versus the correct feedback. And we're good to go. So I went ahead and I changed the timing. Let me go ahead and save my file. Again, that's HTML file. Let me refresh, and then our first question should pop up at 7 seconds. Let's give it a go.
Every morning I use that quick export button, and now it's just gone. This update has totally messed up my workflow.
Perfect timing. So he completes speaking. Our question comes up. We want to go ahead and acknowledge their apparent frustration.
I completely understand how that feels, Jordan. A change like this can be really disruptive when you rely on it daily.
Summarize the issue to confirm the understanding.
They said it would be easier, but now I'm clicking through menus just to do what I did in one click before.
Okay. So you get the idea?
Let's walk through it together. From the new dashboard.
So yeah, there would have to be some tweaking with the questions to completely align to what's happening here in this scenario. Well, I hope you enjoy this episode. Again, this is just a little taste of what is possible with vibe programming. Now, I think what I'm going to do next week, this might be a 3-parter, is to actually go ahead and attempt to get XML to work. Yeah, I know in my description I was going to try to get to it today, but I think we've covered enough, right? So if you want to check out how the XML, my attempt at XML, I want to make sure that I give it enough time to explain what's going on, because I could rush through it right now and try to vibe program it, but I think the topic itself is going to be its own show. So that being said, episode 35 next week. Check it out. And if you're watching the recording, just kick on over to episode 35 to see how my attempt at implementing XAPI in this one. And then let's see if we can get it to track. All right. Okay. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.